Hi, welcome back to my channel. My name is Carter Walker. I love talking about movies, music, comics, and games. And I just walked out of Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny tonight, and I really wanted to talk about it. I don't know how I'm going to talk about it, but I really wanted to. For some context, I'm a massive Indiana Jones fan. The dog is mad. I'm recording a video. I used to have posters in my old room of Raiders and Last Crusade, to which I consider to be two of the greatest movies ever made, if not like two of the most influential. I think even people who normally wouldn't enjoy like action adventure movies can even admit that Raiders and Last Crusade are two of the most important, and if not like two of the greatest movies ever made. And I don't usually say that lightly, but I genuinely think that. And so, needless to say, I was a little skeptical walking into Dial of Destiny. I know that there's been a lot of controversy around like Disney, because there's always controversy around Disney and Lucasfilm and everything they do these days. But I honestly wanted it to just be better than Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, and I'm happy to say that it is. It's better than Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, which is a low bar to set, but I just wanted to talk about it. So before I get started on all of that, I apologize if there's any like background noise right now. I put my mic kind of close to the TV because it was just getting annoying. I was experiencing a lot of issues with my microphone and the quality when I had it like holding it right here. Oh gosh, holding it right here. I had a lot of issues with that, and it just honestly was not working out the way I wanted it to. Started to be a pain to edit, so I just decided to prop it up again. With all that out of the way, let's get right into what I liked about the movie. So starting out with the positives, I think Harrison Ford steps right back into the role effortlessly. This is one of his best performances that I've seen from him in quite some time. He steps back into Indiana Jones at a like not so great point in his life. Indiana Jones is moping, he's retiring from archaeology. One of the most like poignant scenes that I saw in the Indiana Jones franchise, and there's more than people would expect, is in the beginning of this movie. Indiana Jones is teaching archaeology. He's teaching, what he loves, teaching what he's studied his whole life. His 70 years of life has all led up to archaeology. It's revolved around that. It's his passion. It's his job. He's teaching it to teenagers who just don't care. And people barge in and start talking about landing on the moon. And they start looking towards the future. And you can see in that moment that Indiana Jones is just like defeated. And it's sad because I don't want to see like one of my heroes, defeated. But it's very interesting. It's a very interesting idea to see that pop up, to see, okay, what happens when people start looking to the future? People start looking in a different direction than the past and our history. But I enjoyed how they focused on that, how they used that to their advantage. And I thought that upon thinking about it as I was like on my way home from the movie, I was like, well, that was a really cool way of kind of contrasting those two. What do you do when your life's work is being forgotten? When your life, what you're passionate about, is just being forgotten, and people start looking to something else. And I think Harrison Ford played that part wonderfully. He did a great job of being, the old hero, the old Indiana Jones. He actually gets quite a few emotional scenes in this movie, which I really enjoyed. Another positive for me here is just, it's always a joy to see Indiana Jones back. I love Raiders. I love Last Crusade. I'm so on Temple of Doom, and I really don't like Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, unfortunately. However, whenever I do watch it, I do just smile at like the classic Indiana Jones moments. There's a few in there. It's not like the worst movie ever made. And I enjoyed, just seeing Harrison Ford back as Indiana Jones. It's always a good time seeing that Indiana Jones classic action, seeing that classic, his reaction to things. There's a lot of great moments in here, a lot of great like sight gags like how there are in the original trilogy that I thought worked really well. I enjoyed it. I liked seeing him fight the Nazis again. I liked seeing him, go on treasure hunts and start solving puzzles and realize this is this and globetrot, and it's always a good time. Not that Kingdom of the Crystal Skull didn't have that, but it's just done maybe a little bit better in this movie. I think the movie as a whole works better both thematically and as an Indiana Jones movie than Crystal Skull. And there are things that Crystal Skull does better, but I think this movie just juggles it overall a little bit better. Another thing that I really liked, I enjoyed the beginning. The beginning felt like a very classic Indiana Jones adventure with a lot of Nazis. It's set during World War II. There's so many Nazis. There's a lot of great like one-liners from Harrison Ford, a lot of great action, a lot of great moments, and I enjoyed it. And kind of closing out the positives, the ending of the movie is good. I enjoyed the ending of the movie where it leaves Indy's character There's a lot of leaks and early reactions, knee-jerk reactions to those Reddit bullet points that people just hated. And I saw a few of them. I didn't think they were real. And I'm not going to tell you which ones are real, but I think it's handled better in the movie than people expected it to be. A lot of people had the knee-jerk reactions to different things, and it doesn't come across as bad as it would in a Reddit bullet point. The third act is absolutely bonkers. It went in a way I didn't expect, and it went in a way that was very surprising, very polarizing. I can see a lot of people hating the third act of this movie and where it takes Indiana Jones and what it does with the characters. I can see people just despising it. But I thought it was fun. I thought it was just, I was like, okay, it's a third act of an Indiana Jones movie. It's going to hit the fan. It's going to get crazy. And that's one way to do it. Did they jump the shark a little? Of course. Of course they did. They're not going to perfect the ending of an Indiana Jones movie like they did with Raiders or Temple of Doom or Last Crusade. But I don't think it's as weird and as, aggressively... I'm really struggling to talk about this. I liked it better than the Aliens in Crystal Skull. It's not on the same level. It is something that's like, wow, that is weirdly out of place in Indiana Jones, like Aliens. But at the end of the day, you're like, well, oh well. So I apologize, that was very vague, but I honestly don't know what to say about it. But I liked it. It was fun. It was decent. I laughed the whole time. Whether that's good or bad, I'm not sure. I just know that I was like, you know what? Let's go with it. Going into the mixed, I think the biggest thing here is the side characters. The side characters, like Helena and Freddie. I forgot there's a little kid in this, Teddy. Not Freddie, Teddy. Helena and Teddy were decent. They were alright. From the trailers, I was like, oh gosh, Helena just looks not like a great character. It's always weird because if it was something like freaking No Way Home, Spider-Man No Way Home, if people just started, making fun of Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, you're like, you're so cheesy, dude, what up? And just started talking down to him, people would hate it. And that's what Helena does in this movie to Indiana Jones. And honestly, I really disliked it. And it's going to be hard because it's a female character. She's already gotten a lot of hate from people who haven't even seen the movie. People who just take it at face value and are like, oh, bad woman, or people who are like, oh, woman, good. Two sides that just don't want to listen to each other, when in reality it sits a lot more in the middle. She's annoying, she's rude to Indiana Jones, and I'm only 21, but I've been watching Indiana Jones my whole life. I don't like it when people, talk down to Indiana Jones, when people risk his life, make bad decisions in the movie. It just comes off as bad, and I don't think they fully redeemed her in the end as, they're going to. Kind of obvious from the marketing that she's with Indy in the end. Different sides, different betrayals, and I don't think it comes off as clean or as neat as it should. Helena is a lot more mean-spirited than Indy, and she comes off a lot more as young Indiana Jones, but just crank the mean up to 11 and crank the cockiness up to 12. And if she was just she bullies Indy the whole movie, and I was like, oh yeah, haha, Indiana Jones, he's not the best person, but he's the protagonist of 4 movies that people adore. He's the protagonist of 2 of the greatest movies that most people agree to be some of the greatest movies of all time. If you introduce a character in a movie that is a brand new character and is just going to start, disrespecting him, talking down to him, making fun of him, putting his life in danger, and all this other things, people aren't going to like that character. It's not, a matter of a million other things. It's just at the end of the day, people aren't going to like that character. Yes, it can be spun as a political agenda and whatever, and I can't believe I'm talking about this in a freaking Indiana Jones movie, but it's not, when you see the movie, she's just not the greatest character. Just plain and simple. She's not the best character that they've had in the Indiana Jones movie. There's a lot better side characters to be seen. And there's even better side characters in this movie. I enjoyed the Nazis in this movie. I thought they were enjoyable. Mads Mikkelsen does a great job as the main villain. He goes by Schmidt, and then it's Vollmel. I have no idea. I took German for 4 years, and I still don't even know half the crap they were saying. So embarrassing. I understood a little bit of it, and then they just start speaking in Swahili German, and I was like, oh, it's game over. I can't do this anymore. She's not the greatest character, and her sidekick Teddy he's bad. I disliked Teddy more than any other character in the movie. He's just in there to have a young, accessible character to kind of give Helena some depth. She doesn't do a lot with him. Teddy doesn't have an arc. Teddy doesn't really contribute anything to the story except for in the end when he suddenly gets all these random abilities. And it's... Okay, in the end of the movie, and there's going to be slight spoilers here. If you really don't want to know anything, don't watch this next part. He starts flying a German-era plane in the end of the movie. And in the beginning, we're shown him sitting at a desk with a bunch of fake flight gauges on like cardboard, and he's like flipping them around, and someone's like, no dude, you can't pull your flaps before 40 miles per hour. I'm making that up. Before 40. He's like, okay. And then at the end of the movie, he's like flying a plane effortlessly. And sorry, you lost me there, man. Like, just come on. Just take Teddy out. Teddy was bad. That's negative for me, man. He's in the negatives. I'm sorry, Teddy, but I just didn't enjoy you. I'm sorry, bud. And yeah, I guess we're in the negatives now, but Teddy was not good. The pacing was also not very good. The first act starts out really strong, slows down a little bit. There's an action sequence. The second act, the middle of the movie is very weak. I can't lie. Sometimes it's very forgettable. I mean, they're on a hunt for something that will lead them to something else, and it's interesting, but also just kind of feels like it's spinning its wheels. This movie is definitely too long, not very well paced in the middle, and it starts introducing just a bunch of characters and side plots with Helena that take place in like 5 minutes and then are just done, and it just comes off as weird. It's like, oh, we need more bodies for this car chase scene. Yep, she was married to a mobster. Oh, they're here. And it's just like, it doesn't add any depth to her character. It doesn't add any fun to the sequence. It's just like, this is weird. Like, this doesn't fit here at all. Finally, Indiana Jones takes a back seat for a lot of this movie. Obviously, it's because Harrison Ford is like 80 years old and Indiana Jones is 70 years old in the movie. You can't do everything you're going to do with Raiders and Temple of Doom and Last Crusade here. You can't even do Kingdom of the Crystal Skull type stuff here. So you have to cover it up with a lot of CGI that doesn't really work as well, and green screen that isn't as great. It just feels out of place in Indiana Jones, and honestly, that kind of bummed me out a little bit. That's how modern day filmmaking is, though. You really just have to kind of go with the flow, and CGI is going to be everywhere, green screen is going to be everywhere. Hopefully, I mean, there's a lot of people, a lot of great filmmakers using practical effects, and hopefully we get more of that. Unfortunately, it's just not in this movie, which I found to be weird. And as much as I love James Mangold, he's just no replacement for Steven Spielberg. Steven Spielberg, one of the greatest directors of all time, easily, and you can just feel his presence was a little missed. So overall, guys, the normal stuff that you would get from Indiana Jones, the score, like the character of Indiana Jones, the treasure hunting, the globetrotting, is all there. But it's missing just a little bit of soul and a little bit of like Spielberg flair to it. Harrison Ford puts in a great performance here. The action is decent, but obviously a little fabricated. And I do think that some of the side characters are extremely weak and borderline just bad. Overall, the biggest issue with this movie is that it's just decent. It's passable. And in my opinion, we've had bad Indiana Jones movies. And I think that's the biggest issue with this movie, is that it's just decent. It's better than Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, but it doesn't reach the highs of Raiders or Last Crusade. Personally, I might like it a little better than Temple of Doom, but obviously I think Temple of Doom, I'll just rewatch that more because it kind of fits the aesthetic of the original trilogy better. And okay, I might not like it more, I'm not sure, but it just feels out of place. It feels very different from the other films, and is obviously missing a few pieces to make it a whole Indiana Jones movie. And the expectations are really is just going to drill it into the ground. People are going to walk out of this probably disappointed because they're expecting Raiders or Last Crusade. If you walk in thinking, I'm going to go see Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, you're going to walk out and be like, wow, praise the Lord, there's no monkeys in this movie. And yeah, you'll be fine. There's no nuke in the fridge, baby, let's go. No groundhogs, woo! But, I mean, overall, I thought Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny was fine. It was decent. Not great, not terrible. I'm excited to rewatch it because there's a lot of things that I think really stand out here, and I honestly am looking forward to wondering where my score goes. For right now, I'll give it like a 6.5 out of 10. Not my favorite film of the year, but definitely not my least favorite. So yeah, have you guys seen Dial of Destiny? What did you think about it? Are you excited? Are you nervous for it? What's your favorite Indiana Jones movie as well? And do you have any hot takes about it? Like, do you think Temple of Doom is the greatest Indiana Jones movie? Let me know. I feel like I really haven't talked about Indiana Jones that much, and it's one of my favorite movies of all time. Well, some of my favorite movies of all time. So yeah, just let me know down in the comments below. As always, guys, thank you so much for the support. It's been awesome to see like my channel grow just from like a little hobby. It still is a hobby, but to like have people like be like, oh, this is awesome, I like this video, and to see some of my videos not blow up, but do very well for someone who just like makes this for fun. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And as always, I'm Carter. Have a great rest of your day.